Nobody hearing us. Oh, there we go. Okay. Hi, Scott here from Squatch America.
And Hannah, domestic goddess in the paddy wagon. And oh, I'm not happy because I keep worrying about bandwidth and internet, and we're going to have to park ourselves in the middle of a freaking city to ever have reliable internet.
All right.
$150 a month internet is just ridiculous.
Okay, we got sound. Thank you, Renee. Thank you, Dale.
And yay.
Yay. All right. Yeah, it's like funny. I clicked the intro thing and it just sat there and did nothing. That's weird. So
I've discovered something on our travels this year.
What?
1,000 trails are usually away from decent internet connections.
Seems to be a lot. Oh, there we go. If I turn this one. No.
I have to touch you still.
I know. All right. So, yeah, if we had awesomer bandwidth stuff, we could probably do the 2-computer thing, but actually this is working pretty good. So tonight, I'm sitting here.
Clap.
I guess so.
We had a great encounter this week. We had someone a few weeks ago, right after we got to South Carolina, we were stopped at a gas station, and this guy crosses traffic, does a left turn when he probably shouldn't have, to drive into the gas station and talk to us. And then, so, I was in with the dog and they're talking, and he comes back. Yeah, he had a Bigfoot sighting, blah, blah, blah. That's not too abnormal. But then later that day, we got, that's the camera. Okay. I got a text message or a Facebook message on our Squatch America page from someone that I didn't know. And she said, "Hi, I'm so-and-so's wife. Your husband met him you guys met him at the gas station today. Our daughter is a really big fan. So could we meet you? Would you guys be available for her to meet you in person?" And so, of course, we set that up because, hey, you got fangirling.
Yeah.
And anyway, so we went this week and we met with the family, and they took us to where Dad had the Bigfoot encounter and all that. But what was really funny is I was talking to this young girl. Her name is Tiffany.
Hi, Tiffany.
If you're watching, see, I remembered. And I said, "So you really watch us?" And she says, "Yeah." I said, "So you see me making fun of him all the time?" She says, "Yeah." So anyway, that was pretty awesome. Someone sees me making fun of you.
Yay.
I know, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about his encounter. I'll be actually doing a video on that later. Yeah, I haven't been getting into getting our videos. I'm trying to get a backlog so we can, but yeah. Anyway.
Oh, let's be honest. You're terribly ADHD, and the minute you get distracted from doing those videos, then you lose your train of thought and where you were, and it takes you 2 weeks to figure that out again.
It does. True story. So, anywho.
So we're going to go back to Texas tonight.
Yes, we are going back.
Not for realsies, but for the show.
For the show. Yep. So, I'm going to see if I can bring this up here real quick. And... so I got to mute that. Mute. Got it. I think you muted it twice. Okay, no. There we go. All right, so I just wanted to make sure we're broadcasting and everything's fine. Got it. So now I need to jump to...
Dale says he's personally seen that. Yes.
All righty.
Y'all missed that.
So I need to get... there we go.
I have no idea what he's doing. He's just...
Alrighty.
He's taken away all computer rights, all chatting rights. I get to do nothing but sit here and poke fun at him.
Yes. You've lost all your rights.
I can't even get in the camera.
Yeah, you can.
All right.
So tonight, well, first of all, I wanted to point something out. I had a friend, fellow Squatcher, Mike, Walden. Oh my gosh. Anyway,
Mike from Maine, Mike?
no, Mike from Texas, Mike.
From the
Michael,
Texas Ranger.
from the Texas
Bigfoot
Rangers. Yeah. He called me this week, and he had watched the video that we did about Falk, and and I actually had shouted him out and put some pictures of his truck and stuff in there. And he said I forgot to mention something in one of my slides, and that was this slide here. Oh, look, it popped up. This here is Keith Crabtree, and I had mentioned him that we had met him in Falk, but Michael had pointed out to me that I didn't say who he was, that he was just one of the Crabtree guys from, the Legend of Boggy Creek. So if you look down here, and I can do really cool things here, I think. Boop, boop. Oh,
We
wait,
should use the laser
pointer. Okay, if you look right here in the Legend of Boggy Creek movie, this is Keith Crabtree that we met, and he signed that, and he actually was the guy in the suit, a guy in the Bigfoot costume in the movie The Legend of Boggy Creek. So
he's a big guy.
he is. Yeah. Really, really great guy too. And
Makes awesome beef jerky.
Awesome beef jerky. Yeah. So there's that. Okay.
I'm pretty finicky about my beef jerky, so if I say he makes awesome beef jerky, you got to take me seriously. I am kind of a foodie.
Yep. So now we're taking you to the wonderful town in Texas called Nacogdoches. Nacogdoches, Texas is famous for a couple of things. I did some research.
When
this
I
week.
see that word, I think of taco nachos.
Taco nachos.
I'm sorry. That's what I'm going to call it now. That's Taco Nachos, Texas.
So anyway, I got, so Nacogdoches Taco Nachos. I don't know why Hannah called them that.
I must have Mexican food on the brain.
So you can comment right here.
I'm not commenting.
What are you doing?
There.
Okay. So anyway, they're famous for two things, and it's kind of weird. The two things they're famous for. One of them is not so weird. One of them is Nacogdoches is known for being the oldest town in Texas.
Yep.
It's like the original whatever township that was ever built in Texas or whatever, or
It's been there the longest.
it's been there the longest. So that's one cool thing. And it's not even in the center of Texas. It's, over towards
It's not
Arkansas,
too far. Yeah.
Louisiana area. It's really close to the Boggy Creek monster area. But the second thing for Nacogdoches is famous for is really interesting. It is
Looks like it's a college town.
it might be, yeah.
Stephen F. Austin State University.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a college town.
It's a bit of a college town. But it's famous for making the Marx Brothers funny.
Funny or famous?
Funny
Funny.
and famous. Okay.
They didn't start out funny.
Yeah, it was kind of an interesting thing. The Marx Brothers didn't start out as a comedy team doing comedy. They started out as a band, and they did music, but they sucked really bad. And they were doing a show in Nacogdoches, and this is way back when, and somebody ran into the theater and said, "There's a wild mule running around town," and everybody left the theater to see the mule because it was more interesting than the Marx Brothers playing music.
I've been to concerts like that.
So when the crowd came back in to finish watching the concert, they made a joke about how the donkey was more interesting than them, and they got a lot of laughs from it. And from that on, they started putting comedy into their music show, and then that kind of generated them into the Marx Brothers comedy stuff. So that's kind of cool.
Did you know the Marx Brothers were highly political in their comedy?
I'm sure they were.
They were very political.
They were.
In fact, those amazing 1990s sacrilegious, blasphemous cartoon dogs, the Animaniacs, were based on the Marx Brothers.
They were. That was kind of, yeah, that's true too. But also the Marx Brothers is kind of funny. If you ever see any of their old shows, when they meet new people, like get introduced to people in the show as part of the script, they would always ask, "Are you from Nacogdoches?" So that's kind of a funny thing. But here's another cool thing. In Nacogdoches area, they are in the middle of what's called the Sabine National Forest, which connects exactly to where Falk is. And
Sulphur Bottoms.
The Sulphur Bottoms.
Did you know that the word Sabine is famous in musical theater?
No, is it?
It is. In the musical Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. I'm scooting out of the camera. In the musical Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, of course, it's about seven brothers growing up on a homestead, and they have to find wives, and anyway, it probably would not fly in today's highly sensitive culture, but they sing a song called Sobbin' Women. Sobbin', sobbin', sobbin' fit to be tied. Anyway, and they're talking about going and absconding with, kind of abducting some women from the town and absconding with them so that they can get married. But anyway, the term Sobbin' women was their mispronunciation of Sabine women, which was from a Roman story, and that is the same word as Sabine. It's just, so anyway.
Wow. You guys are getting a lot of history, not Bigfoot tonight. But okay, so here's some more history, but we're going to be talking about the Sabine thing. I just noticed Craig posted that.
Because Craig says there's some scary critters in the Sabine country.
Yeah, in fact, there's this thing they call the Sabine thing. Also, there's a place called Caddo Lake there, and there's the Caddo critter. And this is what I wanted to get into is the in this area where Sabine is the Caddo area of the Caddo Nation. The Caddo Nation is an American Native American tribe.
So everyone take out your notepads and your pens and get ready to take notes.
Yep. So
here he goes. Here goes Professor Scott.
So the Caddo, hi Donna. The Caddo Nation is a confederacy of several Native American tribes who historically inhabited much of now East Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma. So it's this whole where the Falk monster is, where the Caddo critter is, where the Sabine thing is. So we did a show
where the oil is.
No. Well, yeah, there's a little oil, but you just lost my train. Okay, no.
So that whole Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, that whole corner
is, and we did a show where we talked about how the Caddo critter, the Sabine thing, and the Falk monster is probably all the same group of Bigfoot.
So this tribe,
they're the descendants of the Condoan Mississippian. Oops, I went too far. The Condoan Mississippian. I lost my notes.
Town.
Culture that constructed huge earthwork mounds in that area. So in that area, there is a lot of these earthwork mounds. But the interesting thing about the Condoan people is they have a legend of a man-eating ogre-like creature that was supposed to have two faces and sharp elbows. I don't know what sharp elbows got to do with it. I meant That's probably one of their cultural things.
Well,
A lot of things we get into.
if you look at like the hairy man
Mhm.
pictograph, it's drawn like this.
Mhm.
I don't think they can see it.
Mhm.
And it looks like, you know, these great big broad shoulders with an arm hanging down. So that could be the sharp elbows, you know, that broad shouldered,
Uh-huh.
you know.
But I will also think that a lot of things, and this is what I've found in my Native American cultural studies and stuff, is that a lot of things that Native Americans say, or part of their history and the way they describe things, gets a little mistranslated when it's come to English.
Oh, only occasionally?
Only a lottily. Is that a word? Okay.
It is now.
But anyway, so when they say it's two-faced, does that literally mean that it had two faces, or does it smile at you and stab you in the back? Also, sharp elbows could mean something else. It could mean that it had sharp elbows or long arms. That could be it too. Or it could be sharp elbows could be translated literally, and it actually means something
like hostile
in their language. Sometimes that gets weirdly translated. You know, it's like when I went to Germany, this was one of the first things we ran into is if I was to look at you and say, no, not the train station,
Nix nein der
Bahnhof, in Germany, that's kind of a common saying, and it literally translates as no, not the train station.
Has nothing to do with the train.
It has nothing to do with the train station. It's literally means you don't know what you're talking about. It's what they say when they want to tell you.
What does that have to do with the price of tea in China?
That's their version of that. So if they look at you and say, no, not the train station, they're actually saying, what are you talking about? That has nothing to do with what we're talking about, you know, basically. So it's one of those things.
You haven't said that to me more during these shows.
Nix nein der Bahnhof. That's going to be a thing now.
It is.
Two-faced could mean some are nice and some are mean.
Yeah, like some are big brother and guardians, and some are not so much.
Yeah. So who's that? Donna just pointed out, and I popped it up on the screen. You know, that could be exactly what it means. Two-faced can mean some are nice and some are mean.
So it means their species is somewhat unpredictable.
Yep. So there's that. That actually, yeah. So what else? The Plains tribe in some legends, the Kadaha is portrayed as a horned serpent, and more like the Cherokee Uktena or Uktena. Yeah.
So a horned serpent, could that be their Satan, their devil?
Version of the devil?
So their version of the great adversary.
So maybe sharp elbows means it is an adversary. So there's a lot of stuff. You know what I mean. So
moving on.
Moving right along. So
am I going to read this?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So there's an old Caddoan legend that says the Great Spirit warned a Caddo chief to move his village or else the earth would swallow it. Ignoring the vision, not long afterward, the chief was leading a hunting party a great distance away when the ground began to shake violently. Upon returning to the village, they discovered it was sunk beneath a lake that had never existed before. Contemporary geologists tell us there may be some basis for the legend. The Missouri earthquake of 1811 caused a blockage of the Red River, and water poured into the region now known as Caddo Lake, forming what has been called one of the most diverse regions of North America, because all legends have their basis in fact somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I added that part.
You did.
I love stories like this, though.
Yeah. So this is also in that same area of the Caddo Critter and the Caddo Lake area. So here's some stories from the area. Charlie Gant was a Gant. I don't know how to say that. I'm bad with names. It was 72. An old local rancher stated that he shot at a ape 9 or 10 times with his .22 long rifle revolver. The ape departed the area of his home that night on July 18th, 1964.
Which was not too long. When was the Boggy Creek Monster?
About the same time.
Okay. Yep. So unclear. But common sense says before is the report by little Jean Couch at the age of 9, who reported seeing the ape while walking to a fishing spot on that same day. His mother also stated that something had been fighting with the dogs at night. Again, it's unclear, but it seems reasonable to assume she's referring to the night before or even earlier to these events. Is in the Boggy Creek story, I mean, in that whole account, the monster was not unknown to the people.
No.
It was common.
It was common. So, yeah. So, and this is in the same area. I mean, this is the Caddo Critter, the Caddo Lake area. And, of course, shooting at it with a .22 revolver.
That would just tick it off.
Pretty much.
Hey, Gordon. Nice to see you tonight.
Yep. So here we're going to move on to the Sabine thing later on.
So this is April 18th, 2000. We have moved into the new millennium.
Mm-hmm.
In 2000, residents of Sabine reported seeing a gray ape-like creature in the area's dense forests. The local newspaper dubbed the creature the Sabine Thing. A similar beast called the Caddo Critter is said to have inhabited the bottoms around scenic Caddo Lake in the 1970s. The Sulphur River along the Texas-Arkansas border has been a source of similar sightings for decades.
Yeah, so in 2000, they saw the creature, but this time it's gray. So if it was young in 1964, I was born in 62, and in 2000, it's a little gray.
2021, you're very gray.
I'm very gray.
We're not going to take that hat off and see what's not under there.
Yeah, we're not. But it's gray. So, anyway. So, moving right along.
Oh, there are a lot of words now.
Now, here we go. We're going to go into history now. This happened in 1836 in the same area in Nacogdoches, Texas. So,
I'm giving you background music.
Okay, here is a letter written by none other than Davy Crockett,
King of the Wild Frontier.
Okay, so he wrote this letter in 1836 and mailed it from Nacogdoches, Texas, and this is what it said.
Okay, yes, I don't know about anyone else out there, but I miss the old wonderful world of Walt Disney where they told us all these stories about great people like Davy Crockett with the awesome music. I don't know, Sunday Night's Wonderful World of Walt Disney was one of the best. Anyway, in a letter addressed to Abner Burgin, Davy Crockett recounted this tale. William and I were pushing through some thicket, clearing the way when I sat down to mop my brow. I sat for a spell watching as William made his good and fine progress. Yeah, you just keep going there.
Yeah.
Clear that trail. I removed my boots and sat with my rations thinking the afternoon a fine time to lunch. As the birds whistled and chirped, what do you want to bet they were little Jabberwockies?
Probably.
Carolina Wrens, if you want to be religious about it. As the birds whistled and chirped and I ate my small and meager ration, he's hollering at whatever woman packed the lunch. I tapped my axe upon the opposite end of the felled tree I rested upon. Whether it was the axe's disturbance or possibly the heat of the high sun which caused an apparition to slowly form in front of my eyes, I know not. As a Christian man, I swear to you, Abe, that what spirit came upon me was the shape and shade of a large ape man, the likes we might expect among the more bellicose. There's a word we need to revive. Bellicose and hostile Indian tribes of the territories. The shade formed into the most deformed and ugly countenance. Covered in wild hair with small and needling eyes, large broken rows of teeth, and the height of 3 foundlings. I spit upon the ground the bread I was eating. Does that mean he spit or did he puke?
He's like, kind of, I surprised him.
The monster then addressed a warning to me. Abner, it told me to return from Texas, to flee this fort, to abandon this lost cause. When I began to question this, the creature spread upon the wind like the morning steam swirls off a frog pond. I swear to you, Abner, that whatever meat or sausage disagreed with me that afternoon, I forswore all beef and a hog for a day or so afterwards. So we all know it happened at the Alamo. It was not pretty.
Yep.
Most Crockett scholars ignore this passage as a silly story told to entertain his friend in a personal letter, though some Bigfoot scholars remain convinced that the creature reached out and tried to save the frontiersman the horrible fate that was soon to befall him. What do you think, Mr. No on the woo-woo?
No on the woo-woo?
Yeah.
I think whatever he took from that encounter was interesting, but what he described was very important to what I see. Hairy, tall. It kind of appeared and then disappeared. We hear stories of Bigfoot stepping out of somewhere and just like they appeared because they're really quiet. Poof, they're
tall,
there.
3 foundlings. That's about 9 feet tall, because a foundling you figure is going to be 3 feet tall.
Yeah. So he saw a hairy
9
foot tall creature
with small needling eyes.
Yep. And
Large.
really bad teeth. So he saw this, and what's interesting is he was actually in the Sabine area, along the Sabine River in the Nacogdoches area when he saw this.
Mm-hmm.
So these creatures have been logged from 1836 clear up to the 2000s in this very area. And we are going to add to that right now.
But before we do, Donna is wondering about their life expectancy.
I'm thinking similar to ours.
Probably a little shorter because they are in a harsher environment.
Or it could be a little longer because
they're not polluting themselves.
They're got better nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing 80s, 90s. I mean, that's what generally primates, great apes live. So it'd be similar to that.
And Craig says it's amazing how people have denied what their own eyes have seen.
Yep.
Well, we're not going to talk any more about that over.
Yeah.
No, because we don't want our content censored.
Yeah.
But I think y'all get it.
Yeah. So it's amazing. So while we were in that area, we were north of this lake at Lake Tawakoni.
So far, your favorite campground?
Yes, this has been my favorite area. I'm at the Felk, Sabine, Caddo area is phenomenal as far as Bigfoot goes. And the terrain is very interesting. The forests are really cool. But while we were at Lake Tawakoni, we had a gentleman come up and knock on my camper door and tell me a story. And then he came back later with a handwritten note laying out exactly where we needed to go to check it out. So that area looks like this.
Ew.
It is totally boggy creek, swampy trees and stuff area.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you doing?
Just keep talking.
So anyway, I'm going to tell you, tell you, it was like his story. So he sat down with me and recounted to me that this story just happened like last year during
Renee, you know it. I'm not setting foot in that muck.
During and possibly gators. I think we're a little north for gators.
We heard a gator at Tawakoni.
Yeah. But anyway, so
at least you told me that was a gator.
Maybe. Sounded like it. I don't know. I'm not from the south. I'm a northwest guy. We don't have gators.
Anyway, so back to the swampy looking muck.
It sounded like stuff I heard on, Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom.
Which is another great show they need to bring back, by the way.
Yes, it is. So anyway.
Hey, Joe. Nice to see you.
So this is in the, this is just north of Sabine. Like I showed you on the map here, that's the exact location on the map. And in fact, the Squatch and Cowboy guy, since we went there, Joe, I could, do we have his contact info?
He's my Facebook friend, dear.
All right. We can send you the exact location if you want to take a little drive up there someday and check that area out. I've got coordinates and directions. He hand wrote me directions turn by turn on the roads to get
including
there.
Turn left at the Angry Goat.
And yeah, including those kind of directions. So our my backup lights just died. Anyway, so that was the lights over there.
Yes, it was.
Okay, so anyway, here's the story. He said him and his son were out hunting in this area, deer hunting, and they were in the woods. They were getting ready to leave late one evening before it got dark, so they can get out of the woods before dark, and you can't hunt after dark anyway. Oh,
yeah. Keep talking.
So as they were starting to walk out of the woods, he felt like something was ghosting him. You get that feeling. I've had that feeling.
Like when the bear was tracking you?
Yeah. If it was a bear. But anyway, but the interesting thing, what happened was before they got out of the forest, they heard something knocking on trees. So he didn't think a whole lot of that. He thought it was maybe another hunter or something. But then, he had watched enough Bigfoot shows to know about tree knocking. And it kind of spooked him a little bit with that feeling of being watched and getting the tree knocks. He left and he didn't come back the next day. But here's the deal. His son did come back the next day. And they had a tree stand that they hunted out of, and it's a typical thing. A lot. You see these a lot down south, and I've seen a lot of them. Mm-hmm. In fact, most of the hardware stores sell like these portable versions of this, and people build their own, like this one here. But his son was back in the tree stand the next day. And he literally in the evening before he left, he was sitting there watching. I think they had corn out, he said, but he saw the Bigfoot, stepped out from behind a tree, looked right at him in the tree stand. He said they locked eyes for about 30 seconds or so, and then it turned and walked off into the woods. His son came out of the tree stand, went to his car. They didn't go back there. In fact, he said they may not ever go back there. Just because
Joe, you got your work cut out for you.
Yeah.
We will send. So we're gonna send Joe those coordinates.
Yeah, we'll send
Yeah.
Joe those coordinates.
When you do that, Joe, we expect. We're gonna bring you on. We expect a full report, man.
Yeah, there we
Full
go.
report.
There you go.
Could be the next viral Bigfoot video.
So that happened just outside of Nacogdoches. But like we said before, this area has been ripe with Bigfoot for 100 years or more.
Joe's on board.
2000.
Joe is on board.
Yeah. Now here's the deal. The guy didn't give me his name, and he didn't want me to record him or anything like that. So we didn't. So I can't give you his information to follow up with him.
But we
or
can give
anything.
you the coordinates.
But I can give you the note. I'll take a picture of it and send it to you. Exactly where to go.
All right. So I see that we're getting into our commercial break. But before that,
Our commercial break.
whatever. Donna asks, I just read that some think tree knocking is actually a mouth clicking, like a way of communicating. Have you heard this, even as lauded as it is? So here's the interesting thing, and this is going to be coming up in the near future too.
Very near future.
We have learned an awful lot in the last week about Bigfoot vocalizations, because guess what? I dragged my husband to meet someone. We had face-to-face, well, that sounds weird. We had person-to-person unmasked contact with one of my favorite grad school professors of all time. Dang, I'm getting gray. Speaking of gray, one of my favorite professors, he was a vocal professor from Anderson University, which is why we're in Anderson, South Carolina right now, because I wanted to go back and visit the campus and reconnect with some of my instructors. Anyway, he's a professor of music education and choral education, and he is as much of a nerd as this guy. I mean, like, oh, his wife and I were just sitting there looking at each other going, what have we gotten ourselves into? Because they're just going back and forth and back and forth. The anthropologist and the vocalologist. Anyway, Scott plays for him from his phone, those vocalizations, the whistling, and all that. And Dr. Hansen said, well, I don't think that's whistling. That's act, because we were saying, Scott had told him how now it's spreading to me. I can't remember the woo-woo guy. Ron Moorhead had been, they had detected like 5 different registers being used simultaneously in these Bigfoot vocalizations.
Which humans can't do.
Which humans cannot do. And Dr. Hansen was listening to that going, yeah, I can hear that. And then he goes into this big old diatribe about how because humans have evolved differently than other primates, we've lost the use of many of our vocal folds, which would explain, and if the Bigfoot actually had more vocal folds and they were bigger, the pharyngeal opening and blah, 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 just going, it's like the Dr. Jeff Meldrum of the music world. Anyway, he was explaining how there is a whistle register that fortunately sopranos like me can access, that with training humans can access, but it could be a regular part of a Bigfoot vocalization is going into that register, which is really, really high. And it sounds like a whistle when in fact it is a scream.
That sounds like a whistle.
So when you heard that whistle, when you had your encounter and you said you heard a whistle off here and the juvenile turned its head and went that way, that literally was mom hollering at it.
Mm-hmm.
Get your Pachuki over here before I whoop all over it.
Yeah. So here's the deal. We talked with Dr. Hansen, and like he said, he is a vocal. He's a vocal professor. He's
a doctorate of all these music nerdy things.
Yeah. And choir director, teacher, blah, 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 all that stuff. Anyway.
Total nerd bucket. I love him to pieces.
But what was interesting is he knew more about vocalizations than anybody I'd ever heard in the world. I mean, they have sent these things to different places and had them analyzed, but they were analyzing them for linguistics, but not vocal patterns.
Yeah. And
so we're going to have Dr. Hansen on probably in the next week or two.
Or 3 or sometime in the near
sometime
future.
in the near future, near future, maybe next week, maybe the week after. We're going to work it out with him. I know we wanted to do it this week, but he was on spring break. So, but anyway, he said he'd be very happy to come on with us, and so we're going to have him on within the next couple weeks. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
And we're going to be playing these sounds for him. And he's going to discuss vocal patterns and ranges and all
the
that
nerdy
sciencey
stuff, all that stuff. And
stuff.
honestly, when he starts talking, I just zone out, because my approach to music is, does it sound good? So, Gordon, it's different than the Mongolian throat singing. It's definitely different. My choir kids learned how to throat sing at a workshop that they went to. So, but what do you think about the wood knock being like, you know, some of those click? I think the wood knocks, I don't know. Do you think that could be a clicking?
I think that's actually wood on wood.
Yeah. Okay.
But there's another thing too. I've actually heard this live. I meant for real in the woods. Is I heard Pete and I did. We heard chest beating once. Which, but a lot louder and a lot faster and a lot deeper, thumpy, bigger body kind of thing. So
Donna wants to know if you can play him the vocalizations that she recorded.
We can, yes,
absolutely.
Donna, could you email those to me again? I know I have them somewhere, but we had a hard drive crash on us, and I may not be able to get them back off there. So would you please do that? That's another thing we've been having problems with getting our videos out, because the hard drive I had them on, it will log in. We can get one thing off it, maybe.
And then it crashes.
Then it crashes again. And then we have to like unplug it, plug it back in. It's
a mess.
It's a mess. So could you please do that?
So Greg says, I've heard three-tone sounds like a high whistle, coyote howl, and a scream simultaneously.
Yep.
We heard another great vocalization today, as a matter of fact, that actually sounded more like language.
Oh, yeah. Perfect. So we will, we're going to be playing that for Dr. Hansen when he comes in, because
it was like weird.
I've got it downloaded. It's the latest thing that was given to MK Davis, if you know who he is.
It is discernible, like you can understand
it.
This is more understandable than the husky dogs that can talk.
Right. So this is really interesting. Yeah. So we'll be playing that for Dr. Hansen also, and you guys get to hear it. If you haven't heard it on MK Davis's channel, but.
Well, and even if you had, it would be great. I just love the fact that I was just really impressed that my choir professor, he was actually my research professor, but he's the guy that I'll be singing at Carnegie Hall under next summer. But I was just impressed with the fact that he totally got into this Bigfoot thing and could really apply vocal science to it in a different way than anyone else we've ever heard. Mm-hmm. This is called cross-disciplinary studies.
All right.
Yeah, y'all check out the video of bobcat sounds on YouTube.
I will, but I am very familiar with bobcat sounds.
Yes, in fact.
The reason that is because we lived out in the country, just outside of Yosemite.
A place called Bobcat Hill.
Yeah, we were on literally the place was called Bobcat Hill. We mistakenly got chickens.
Can I tell the story?
Yeah.
Because I have no respect for our sons. None. If Dustin's on, he'll remember this. The boys are the ones that wanted the chickens. Two wanted the chickens, actually. Our Asian son wanted the chickens. And so, well, you got to build them a chicken coop. And our recommendation was to build a chicken coop like 10 feet from the house. They said, no, we don't want the rooster waking us up in the morning. So they go up the hill 50 yards and build it there. 50 yards up the hill away from the house. And so one night we got home, we'd been out late, we get home, we hear this ungodly screeching and hollering and clucking, and you go up.
Yep. And there's a bobcat
In
the chicken coop. I don't know how it got in there, but it was in there.
It's like he ripped off the roof.
I know, and he was just executing chickens.
Not even like he wasn't like killing one and eating it. He was like,
well, I think they were running around, and then it got into that cat chase thing, and it was just executing.
It was like a freaking bloodbath in there.
So there was a pipe there because we'd been doing plumbing. So I grabbed this pipe and I stuck it through the chicken wire and started trying to scare it out of the chicken pen. I didn't want to get in the chicken pen with it, but so it finally climbs out by the roof and jumps up on the roof, and then it's staring me down. And I'm like, this thing's going to jump on me. And so I had the pipe. I was going to like knock it out of the park like a baseball if it jumped on me, but it didn't. It turned and ran. But
you did hit it once.
Yeah, I did hit it, and it turned and ran off. But yeah, we were literally bobcats everywhere and heard them all the time.
And then when we moved to that other property, we had a granddad bobcat. He was like 30 years old. He was an ancient bobcat. We had a granddaddy bobcat and a granddaddy rattlesnake that both lived on our property.
Yeah.
And that old bobcat would come out one time. That old bobcat came out. I was sitting on the front porch. I remember this was New Year's Day of 2011, or 2012, and he comes out onto the porch, or I was sitting on the front porch, and he comes walking down the road, and he sits down on our front lawn and just looks at me for like 5 minutes, and then he kept going. And it was kind of actually a very mystical moment for me. And I won't go into the whole symbolism of the bobcat totem, but I did adopt the bobcat as one of my spirit animals at that point. But then I went to make sure my own cat was fine, because I thought, where's my cat?
Yeah.
She was all right.
So
anyway,
we missed the commercial.
Oh, no. So here's the commercial. We still got 13 minutes. We're good.
Okay.
So
yes.
Commercial. Join Patreon, because guess what's on our calendar? Those of you, did you already put this up? I sent you the text to put this up in a private message. Okay, so if you are already a Patreon, you will have got this. You will have gotten this in your Patreon messages. But starting the first Friday of May, we will be having our, what are we calling them? Our full of schnockies First Friday chats with our Patreons. So we will go live on stream. We'll send all of our Patreons a link to come right into StreamYard. You can talk to us back and forth. We're going to have our live chat together sessions starting the first Friday of May and every first Friday of the month after that.
Right. So there'll be a link over in Patreon. So if you want to join us at $3 or $5 a month, it's up to you. And like I said, we'll have the first Friday. And so we've been trying this new program, which seems to work really well for our lives, and we'll be using it. So we'll send a link there, and you just click on it. It'll ask you to type in your name,
and you'll look just like us on the screen.
You look just like us on the screen with your little name underneath it, and we'll be able to chat face to face.
Yes,
but we're not going to be live on the air doing that. It's just going to be a private chat with us. So
yep. So Craig mentioned that bobcats and foxes make some weird sounds. Foxes freak. What does the fox say? The fox says weird shit.
He does.
They trill. It's like they're so weird.
Yeah.
So I think they're super cute. Though, have you ever seen like foxes that have been domesticated after about 3 generations? They turn into dogs that kind of look like cats. It's really weird. Okay, so it's time for me to say this.
Wait, is it?
Well, you just put it up.
It's not up.
It's not up? Oh.
It's up for you, but not for them.
Oh, okay.
StreamYard.
So what's next?
This is what they're seeing.
Okay, so what are we doing next?
All right. So any questions out there before we go?
So tomorrow we are pulling up stakes here. We are saying goodbye to South Carolina.
We are on our way to
North
North
Carolina.
Carolina. And we're going to be there for about 6 days.
I have an 83-year-old aunt who I hope to be able to see. It all depends on her comfort level because
stuff. But anyway, so
I haven't seen her since I was 18.
Right? Okay, anyway, we're going to be there for just a few days, like 6, something like that.
Maybe even 4.
Maybe even 4. We're going to be cutting that down. And then we're going to the Chesapeake Bay area.
Gloucester, Virginia. For
I
hope I said that right.
A couple days. And then we're going to be on to Pennsylvania, I believe.
To Gettysburg.
Just because I always wanted to go there and I'm a history buff. And because Gettysburg.
7 years
somebody
ago.
did a speech there once.
Our forefathers brought onto this continent a new nation.
Yep. And then we're going to see Dell in less than a month. Yep. We're going to spend a few days down in Wells. Maybe Dell and Denise could come down and see us. Hint.
Are we for real? I thought we weren't going to do that.
Or a couple days, a few days.
Okay. All right.
So, and then we're going to be in the North Maine woods for the summer. Going to find us a Squatch.
And make a documentary.
We're going to make a documentary. We're going to find us a Squatch. We might make us 2 documentaries. And, one history documentary and one Squatch documentary. And we're going to put out some traps and catch us a live Squatch. That's the plan.
Do I need to make bacon wrapped jalapeno poppers as bait?
That's it. Bacon wrapped jalapeno poppers.
I don't know if that will catch a Squatch, but it will catch a Marcel.
Yeah. So, with that said,
our job is to investigate the unexplained.
Not to explain the uninvestigated.
As always, thank you so much for watching us and for putting up with us and for laughing at our silly jokes. And until next week, keep it squatchy.
And Craig, go out and find some morels and a Squatch. It's that time of year.
And turkey's always good. Wild turkey, yum. Hey, wild boar is yum. Do they have wild boar in Oregon?
No, they don't.
Okay.
But they have turkeys and morels. And that's when I saw my Squatch. They were morel hunting. So, later.
Bye.
So, we forgot to say our thing. Go out and find Bigfoot.
I said my thing.
Yeah. Bye.